Hello everyone, a friendly reminder of what this channel is about, right? I still don't know how I will have titled this video. It's probably going to be something provocative along the pattern of, why do you actually watch me more when I talk ill about other channels than when I actually make my sort of specialistic art of war content. This is an important question. I feel confident after several years of Schwerpunkt to address this topic. I wanted to leave it for this spring backstage episode, but those turned out to be in fact so generically titled. So I wanted to be more straightforward in the title. This is not going to be a particularly antagonistic video or anything, but it's important to stress certain aspects for anyone who is desirous to follow my content. So when I started Schwerpunkt, and you know that I've remained really consistent with that along the years, I've always said that I really do not need lots of views to do this, right? I don't do it for the money, even specific. I want to thank all the members that contribute to Schwerpunkt, also monetarily speaking, and anyone who does in any way, right? This depends largely on you, and you know that I've never pushed for any specifically aggressive, subscription policy or whatever. Everything is public. If anything, I think if you remember back in the day, I monetized the channel only because YouTube began to monetize the videos as soon as they began to make more views in my stead. So at that point, I had to jump in and do it myself, if anything, for my own benefit, right? Over the years, of course, Schwerpunkt has changed in some ways, hopefully for the better, especially in terms of delivery of actual content, technical means, etc. And there is no doubt that it's going to improve in the future as well, which I count on doing together with your support. And of course, that does have an influence, like I am myself exposed to your feedback and input, etc. However, I would like to remind you also of something specific. Now, I see I have, at this point, have surpassed the 20,000 subscribers. It's not too much considering I have 2,400 videos. So many of you say this has been a failure. It's not really. And again, I didn't start really the channel to be that overwhelmingly. I don't whine too much about that. Yes, I say sometimes, oh my God, the views are low or something like that. But you know that I make my own video every day and I deliver it to you. I don't sort of ask for anything in return. And again, I don't put it under a specific condition. I personally feel enriched by what I do and by the interaction I have with you. I've learned so much from you over the years. It's been really fantastic because also from a psychological point of view, it's very important to understand how people think history in a way that I can be somehow helpful and or like I've just seen, for example, in the last Q&A episodes that have been prompted, in fact, by a request from your side. Can you do more of that? Like how we can have a dialogue even and how things seem to be good along that pattern. However, there is also an elephant in the room. There may be more. I just used that article, indefinitive article, because naturally there is always much more to learn than we imagine. That is to say that this channel has definitely a unique characteristic that could and is to some extent spent. That is to say, it's run by, and I don't want here to always just sort of blow my own horn, so to say, and trying to say, okay, I receive less views than, again, I'm not making that point because that would be absolute. This point I'm making is that is relative, as I've just said before. But this channel again is run by someone who, regardless of his, say, linguistic diction or sort of general limits in the way he delivers this content, like the editing, the very homemade vetero YouTube kind of style format, etc. After all, provides with some information from a, I would say, I use the term professional background or whatever you want. I, again, don't, that I never said, okay, I'm a PhD, so I'm better than other people. Or PhDs just are better than everybody, or, you should listen to me because I'm an authority in my field or whatever. I just laid down my cards and said, look, I've done this, this, and that. I'm hopefully proving it to you with the work I make. That in the past has been a great debate and incredulity from side of people but you don't provide a list of all the citations. Why should we actually believe you? What is this? But that mostly rests on you, right? If you are not sure that what I'm saying is historically accurate or correct, which is also never been a matter of discussion because nobody ever insinuated that what I said was actually not historically correct. They were just essentially perplexed by the fact, well, why doesn't he cite sources or something like that? But it's mostly a problem of yours, right? If you were, say, a university professor or an expert in your own regard, you would be able to say, regardless of the way I format this, okay, this is valid, this is not. I've encountered colleagues that I also made an interview with, for example, last year, said, okay, this guy knows his deal. I don't care. There can be people out there saying that I'm not good or whatever, but to make the long story short, yes, I have that specific background, and not only that, but I have a specific specialization in something called properly the art of war, which to many people, and unfortunately I know that, also following me, do not really picture in a critical and objective, more unscientific sense, right? There's a huge difference between military history and the art of war, right? Military history can be a story of anything that happened within a broader military context, right? As I often make the example, it can be military propaganda, and you may be an expert, again, in that field and being very competent or whatever. The history of the art of war is something specifically different. It's something very rare to find anyone to specialize in, and especially there is no specific pathway, believe it or not, even if you actually study in the military for that, and that's a parenthesis I don't want to open for now. And that consists basically in what I always say, I use these terms, the diachronic and comparative study of armies, tactics, strategies, technologies, etc., throughout history, in the world, in fact, as those adjectives themselves really say, which is not merely a matter of saying, so, well, okay, you know how they fought in the Napoleonic era or in the Middle Ages or whatever. No, there is a specific connection for those that is notorious, also for those who study von Clausewitz, that have followed also my Frankrike series, that may have become more familiar with. That is the fact that in the absence of a direct command, and we're talking higher spheres, not being a frontline soldier that may easily, as it always happens, not actually have a specific competence to even explain the war from a political or strategical point of view, right? He will know the hard reality of that frontline experience. Many people often come to me and say, well, that guy, that creator the other day that I criticized, but that guy served in Iraq. And so, is that a requirement for actually having a higher expertise in the art of war than somebody who actually studied this? It doesn't, there is this individualistic, personalistic, emotionalistic, subjectivistic Call of Duty style kind of, I understand something because I've been there. History proves us, just read any sort of interview, to most people who do certain things. I have a mad respect for veterans in general, but especially I have a mad respect for those who also understand the war, which is something that the average person, just like the average person, the average veteran, by definition, are not supposed to. All right, it's not like if I asked, my grandfathers, unfortunately passed away, how World War II actually was, they would actually know it because they were into that, right? It's not how it happens. And this is part also of what I'm going towards today in an indirect sense, meaning that especially what YouTube has habituated you to is this notion that here the creator is supposed to serve you with something or to be under your own evaluation or assessment, or something that you can personally decide to a degree of anonymity or distance, or maybe you can talk about this on another site or whatever, do whatever you want, which you can and you should, and I have no problem with, but that will never substitute the moral and scientific objectivity of reality, right? And in my opinion, the moral and scientific objectivity of reality is, of course, something that I can test myself when I published on peer-reviewed journals. My articles where I literally offer the best in my specific field of specialization, which surely is limited, as it is limited basically for everyone, because it's really difficult to be a true expert, a true academic expert in just everything. It can't be. There is nobody. There's no art of war expert that is really an academic expert in the entire art of war. But it's also something that also through Schwerpunkt I've been accumulating as that, to go back to von Clausewitz, form of experience and sort of critical, I dare say intelligence that has to do with being repeatedly exposed to wars, campaigns, battles, reconstruction from sources, right? Imagine literally having spent decades of your life studying history, including several years now, also making literally mostly a military-themed video every day for which you have to prepare the evidence, etc. In parallel, again, studying, teaching, publishing, whatever, and doing this non-stop, all right? You easily understand that, as von Clausewitz himself says, because he was also not just a general, not just a military theorist, etc., but also an extraordinary military historian, believe me, and people that, like Keegan, etc., other culturalists that, in my opinion, have neither opened up the von Krieg, in fact, should know very well when they criticize him, like saying things, von Clausewitz was just describing 19th century warfare from a statal standpoint. He did not know or understand, I don't know, the medieval lordships, the seigneurial warfare, etc. Nothing more wrong in that. It's just also in that sense a moral and scientific proof of objective ignorance to presume otherwise. So again, not to blow my own horn, but I'm doing here something that is very specific. Again, I don't ask for more views. I would like to have more views, there is no doubt. I think it would be positive for everybody involved, and I'm glad if you like my content. I'm okay if you dislike it. I take criticism pretty well. I've always done that. I've always been able to improve on my own mistakes. So it's whatever your reaction is perfectly fine. But let's take this as a friendly advice, right? Not as a criticism, because otherwise, like I've never either criticized the audience, because as a traditionalist, I believe that if I get less views, it's primarily my fault. It may be those people's fault at the same time, but it's primarily, at least as far as I'm concerned, my fault for not having succeeded in grasping their own attention or whatever. The friendly advice of this whole premise is the following, that we should reason on later as well. I understand the drama. Everything can be explained in the same moral and scientific way. If I make a video which is really unique and new, and I never done something like that, like the other days one, like the top 90 YouTube history channels, Schwerpunkt Critical Review 2025, I was honestly expecting to make more views with that. I was just talking about it with, the other day with someone said, I've made this video, I'm sure that it's going to make thousands of views, like tens of times what I normally get. And in the difference you see between me and other channels is that other channels come mostly from a background where they want to get those views. Essentially, it's the ultimate aim of it all. I, on my own side, at least, I consider it as a secondary problem, right? The first one is primarily to get out there and saying something that makes sense. There are videos that I like more or less of the ones I make. For example, that video about the top 90, it was fairly sloppy. I mean, it was actually like a good video. It came out fairly well. And I think I had some points there, but at the same time, for example, like banal things that a person with extreme high conscientiousness like me for 5 traits happen, like the top 90. It's not like these are all the history YouTube videos. It's not like they're actually the top or the best. Also, the way, of course, I browse them, so say cursorily, does not render justice to the same channels. Maybe if you like those kind of videos, like, we can make them more, right? And this is not, in fact, even the problem per se. But the problem I have specifically, it's like, it's something that I say for you, and it's like an advice that I offer you. Like, if you have at hand the condensated, the distillated, I don't know how to say that, thoughtfully crafted content by an expert, a conventional expert. I'm not saying the best expert. I mean, I don't have the room of mirrors. Mirrors of who is the greatest expert. That does not work like that. But a conventional expert in the art of war that specializes just in that has made thousands of videos in these topics, that covers pretty much all you can imagine on that kind of still level of art of war, also military history at times, also basic history, also but mostly about that. And that also, on top of this, has explained to you in many videos how he writes his own articles, how he wrote his own thesis, how he interacted with other scholars and whatever, etc. The question is, what is the advantage, right? I mean, the real advantage for you, the real profit for you, the real gain of essentially taking, like, decuplicating, right, the attention towards the channel that posts every day, and yes, may inflate even, in fact, this kind of better content. But that still is that kind of content for which I presume most of you have subscribed, because I don't make that other content often. And essentially, in fact, putting the latter aside in favor of the drama, right? I don't want to be harsh, because again, I understand why that drama, I say drama in the sense of, like, yeah, I talk about other YouTube channels, probably. I confess it's also an experiment to start, breaking balls a little bit and see if some attention bounces, and maybe somebody makes a very bad review of my channel, and I get more views in the process. So that's also part of the game. I'm totally open to that. It's perfectly fine. I hope it happens, frankly, because we're really going to collectively profit. But the question again is, especially I can tell you from my lens, because I understand that, again, individually, you may have all the reasons in the world to watch that video, as opposed to another made in the moment. But statistically, because I have YouTube analytics in front of me right now, and I can see the former video keeping to pump on views, as opposed to the most recent historical ones I've made, or the many others I've made. So it may even be true, like recently, like the cycle provided you with maybe some content was not maybe top. But let's say, for example, the recent videos I've made about Canadian warfare, right? That was important stuff, right? So I don't really see, in the perspective of what I think people follow me for, what kind of interest can there be fundamentally for a video like the one about the top YouTube history channels that are supposed, by the way, to be criticized also as military history channels that make, in fact, content that I presume is better than mine in entertainment-wise, but not better than mine historically wise. And again, that's also debatable. I'm not saying that everything they do is worse than I do, or vice say that, again, mine is better anyway, or whatever. You should stick to me. You should watch whatever you want. But again, the point is, what are all these views really? do they come from, because my channel is in this sense pretty obscure, right? So if the stuff gets immediately into your homepage, it has broken, I can tell you, with 700 hours plus of views in a day, it has broken any other limit, every other record that I've of watch length for any other video that I've ever made. What is the logic behind that? Like, is it like saying, okay, now I'll watch this video of Schwerpunkt because he will give me the shortcut on how to evaluate other people? Because unfortunately, as I said before, that's also how things tend to happen on YouTube and on the internet in general. Like, I followed this or that channel and that other one is bad because just, I think that I feel like that today, or I have any sort of emotional, subjective attachment to that, or maybe he's politically leaning in a direction rather than another, so I must defend it at all costs, regardless of the quality of the history of it, because it happens all the time. This happens for myself too. I know I have dedicated fans that defend me, but maybe sometimes do not. I've never really seen much of this around, because I think, as my own followers tend not to get into drama in the first place. But let's say maybe are not really fully aware of what they're watching, as I was saying before, right? There may be misconceptions, there may be some sort of, okay, I like this content because this guy seems to go pretty much in depth into this video, but maybe I will not even watch it. So I don't even know the extent of that I'm presuming to like at that point. And this happens all the time. I have also true that, let's say, there are sometimes some slightly sarcastic, and I hope not passive aggressive in that sense, remarks that I make in my own videos when I comment other, like in that one of the top 90 YouTube history channels, etc., that are called rhetorical questions, right? So I place a ... and there you have to fill the gaps. And very often, like, I basically speak, of course, from my own standpoint, so I remember things I say. I presume that people who follow me may know what I come from with this stuff, what I mean, what are my punching points, etc. But very often those gaps are filled in very odd ways that make me understand that there are people following me, likely also the newer ones or the accidental ones, whatever, that do not watch me regularly, that literally do not know anything about the content in itself. Like, again, and I say this because, again, differently from many channels, and I know that there is nothing mandatory about that, but let's say I at least made lots of videos explaining my political, sort of philosophical, saying this way, and broader historical and cultural approaches, right? So it's not, of course, frustrating to see a single person coming out of nowhere, not knowing, not having a clue about what these are. But again, when I see statistically a video like that gaining way more views, I'm all okay with that. I'm not even making a fuss about the fact that I got more views, because I made that video exactly to get more views on the channel. But the question is, what about the rest? Right? What is about, again, that video? I'm saying the one about Canadian warfare, but it can be the one of Prince Eugene of Savoy. There can be others, the one of the Jubilee, the one about Byzantine Italy, or whatever, that specifically does not make it to the broader audience. And that if I don't insert these shockers in the row, will start to just make the channel gradually falling into oblivion with very low views. While again, I've never had more subscribers. I've never had more income. By the way, this is the strange aspect. Aside from members, most of my income comes from ads. Even if I have all these low views, I still have pretty high income compared to, because I have a very high, this is the very weird thing, I have a very high CTR, which may not actually be, even in absolute YouTube terms, what makes you have more views, all right? But regarding that, we have to be honest. because while it is true that probably most of my followers behave like normal followers, they're well disposed towards me, they have subscribed for a reason, they're curious, they're appreciative, the drop in homepage views is not merely a YouTube thing, right? There are ups and downs, there are factors that surely influence from the outer side that are out of our control, whether we want it or not, or at least we can't control it. But very often they're too much too big of a tide, really to alter. But it's also true, and I said this for years, that if just 100 of my followers, my subscribers, so we're talking maybe 270 people, if a person out of 100 actually concentrated every day in sharing the stuff, or in just, again, clicking on the other video, the next video, like liking, but are not even watching entirely, but still contributing to that, this channel would be at a much higher level. And you would say, oh, Schwerpunkt, so you want us to make us do this. I don't want you to do that in the same, I wish that happened, but I'm not commanding you that, giving you orders about that. I am making a point that if you are following the channel by your own will to hopefully support it, because there is no other reason. There are some people probably, have some masochistic kind of feeling that hate me, that follow me. There are very few, that have been always very few, but they're just can't stand me, but they want to follow me anyway, because at least they're critical. I don't know how they are. Maybe they're just normal people, but they have this kind of take. The ultimate purpose should be that you hope this channel to have some kind of reach, right? And we all understand what kind of advantages derive from this dynamic given the interest, all right? So again, it's very strange when you, at the end of the day, make the whole equation, when you see that you have this unprecedented peak in watch length, the highest in Schwerpunkt's history, in a time in which the channel has done nothing but going gradually down. Probably there is a plateau, actually, but not, as I was saying before, even regarding the income, etc. It's not really a bad place where to be, and ups and downs on YouTube are completely normal. But given that this trend is consistent, it's something that lasted for more than a month and so on, it's going down, going down, going down, it's sort of weird that when it's not I managed to invert the trend, simply like that, I literally break any other record on Schwerpunkt. This has to happen for essentially a condensed 2.5 hours take on several tens of channels, even in, admittedly, if you just make the maths, with time, not particularly long or not particularly structured, insightful, just by the way I make content, right? So you understand here what's the picture that is outlined. It's as if you have the expert, that you have the opportunity to listen for free, or at least with some ads that unfortunately is there, with this consistency and with this width of content that is all interconnected, is full of places, etc. And instead, what you want is not just the expert to talk about something which is relatively more trivial, but something that is just by, as you understand here, time limit, cursory and superficial, like commenting in that way on different YouTube channels. All right, so I'm also very honest here. I made an experiment to see what would go on. I was, as you understand, doing different things at a time. But definitely, I was making this attempt. Like I knew, by the way, that the trend of the channel was going down. People saying, "Oh yes, we support you," but then gradually, going down with that hype, and at a collective level. Because again, I have stats here. It's not one guy doing it and all the rest suffer for it. No, it's just a structural thing. I do the stupid video and you watch it. what kind of conclusion do we have to draw? All right, so it may be YouTube that is fucked up to a degree, absolutely. It may be that there are some strange dynamics that even the most perspicacious of creators and followers and whatever cannot foresee. There can be all whatever you like intervening, but I had bet on that, and I was right about it. So that's as I was saying before. Today, by the way, just to tell you that I'm stern but fair, right? On other YouTube channels, you would just have the smiley guy that has to put himself at the center of the attention, that should essentially make it a personal matter and smile and lure you and giving you all the please subscribe, look, click on the bell ring, well, all that kind of BS. I'm giving you this raw, unfiltered, military historical, art of war, strategically cultured analysis every day with the same consistency, with the same quality that I measure myself. Again, there's some videos that can be better and worse. It happened already in the past that some worse videos for some reason made more views than the better ones. So there can be misunderstanding, there can be all the limits. And again, as I said at the beginning, it's all my responsibility, right? I consider it exclusively my responsibility. But you're not dummies either. All right, I'm not playing you as puppets that, if I fail, like, you just follow that, right? Tradition says that it's my fault as much as it's your fault, all right? At the same time, they overlap, right? So the question is pretty straightforward. Where do we want to go from here, right? Because you know what I could do? Believe me, again, I don't have problems in my life with this. I could simply say, okay, now I'll lock all my videos. Nobody watches them unless they pay, right? And I'm sure that there will be someone that will actually pay for that, right? And probably I will not earn as much as I do, but I could still make the video. It's a pretty weird scenario, and it would probably trigger a lot of outrage and whatever. And this is also part of the reason why after all, I'm a very patient person, as you understand. I am able, when put on a specific track, just to go forever, just like I'm improving on Schwerpunkt, right? But at the same time, exactly when I'm in charge, as I am here, and I have the power to make things go in a way or another, I can also, and I should actually, steer things to the extreme sometimes. So I'm not threatening you, I'm not blackmailing you, I'm not manipulating you, I'm not going to do this thing, at least for now. I don't want to do it. I don't think there is a specific reason to do it. It's just an example. But from your side, and I can't take this. I can't go on, and I can't even get to, I don't know, 0 views, which is not going to happen. Again, there are ups and downs, whatever. I may have also, as I was saying before, not done this video, because why doing it, right? It sounds whiny to an extent. It sounds like a complaint. So it's not even probably advantageous. But I know that you are smart. At least I treat you as smart people. So I don't have any, again, particular, I'm not saying anything unpleasant towards you. I'm just, again, laying down the actual thing. Not even the cards. We're not playing a game here. I'm just giving you the raw data and how I see it. Again, same content, even improving, actually, over the next few months, things gradually going down. And even to levels that we're still at the plateau level that is tolerable for these things, but not a specific sign of higher engagement, regardless of the much greater number of subscribers that hopefully subscribe for a reason. Dumb video, or video that may have been objectively interesting from a certain standpoint, but that does not really have much to do expectedly, also from the outer side. Again, we could make deeper analysis and dive into single channels. It's an option, all right? And I'm reasoning on that because it may really get somewhere also as far as historical criticism is concerned. But the contrast is too jarring, all right? The contrast between the value, the perceived value of my content and this other sort of more generic, mundane one is not reflective of the objective worth of my work, your time, however we interact here. And so it's something very, maybe not very nice to hear, but it's something that hopefully can wake you up a little bit, right? Imagine, I'm not even making the point of I'm here making a video every day, whatever, this is the what I get, but no, I don't need to make that point. I haven't started the channel, I haven't remained literally for years at the beginning without audience. Even at the time, I haven't really complained. I've always been consistent and things gradually have occurred. But when you see, and we talk about this because when we study military history of religion, and tradition, etc., we know what it is. You have to hold. All right? If you don't hold, nothing comes to you. And this is valid for everyone, right? So I think from my side, I'm doing that. From your side, how far are you willing to go, really, for this content, right? How much do you actually care to have at hand thousands of videos, constantly improving, constantly going in greater depth, a comprehensive array, so not something I'm simply giving you to serve every day. Look, this is the temporary entertainment, something really that you can read, you can access as a library, right? I know that YouTube does not present this to you. This is more like what has popped up now that YouTube suggests me that is more fine. I know that you follow things like that. But again, the numbers do not add up. All right? You must simply put yourself in front of this notion. What are you following me for? And what do you expect to find on this channel that you can't find on ours? Because if the proportion is what I just outlined, that is to say, my quality work is put at a level of, gossiping, like the one you could find in the other day's video, there is literally no reason for you to watch my channel. And I say it many times in these circumstances. I prefer you to unsubscribe from Schwerpunkt and not to watch, and go watch other channels. I really, really advise it to you, than remaining here. Because here, ideally, we pay for Schwerpunkt. All right? That there is a work that you have to do. Because you know why? Because you should know why. Because the content requires that work. This is not a toll. This is a privilege. All right? This is not something. This is something that if I want, from today you may not see anymore for the rest of your life, and completely lose all of a sudden. And at that point, there is nothing you can do to control that. Right? Probably you think that likelihood is as it is, that I'm continuing to do so. I'm not going to do this, and as any kind of retaliatory measure, because I don't have a beef with you. But that point is exactly, what are you storing this for if you're not actually consuming it? It's difficult to tell. And this is not even, again, I know that YouTube is promoting content in strange ways. And it is perfectly normal, and I would say this, that your attention towards the channel goes to tendentially go down if you're not reminded, right? You will find me at some point, you will subscribe and say, okay, well, I'm watching this guy, but then you say, oh, well, it's plenty of other channels where I should look him, right? But the question is, again, why did you bookmark me for some reason? Secondly, it's not me, it's the content, all right? I'm just a vessel here of something else. I'm not even telling you this is my brand, right? Obviously, the stuff is copyrighted. Um, I am the creator, so there are some rights I have on it, but it's not. It's mostly like just to protect me from, I don't know, people stealing the stuff. But when it comes to the spread, all right, that's just between you and the content, right? That's the actual privilege, that's the actual opportunity, that's the actual chance that you have. And I know, again, that if you open YouTube and you do not see my videos on the homepage, you'd say, well, sorry, but I didn't see that. Conversely, as I said before, it would take even 100th, so an irrelevant part of the audience for how precious you individually are, to bring this channel easily to hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and this has not yet happened. It's so easy, right? In digital era, it just takes sheer will to power. Well, this is what YouTube does not want you to have, right? The concept that you choose, as opposed to being passively spoon-fed with whatever they suppose that can satisfy your temporary, incredibly ephemeral. Even compare this over the years and how we actually interact with the internet in general. Attention is exactly what is going down. Schwerpunkt is the countermeasure to this. Right? Everything I do on the channel, everything I explain, the entire background to this is that you should break the mold, and that there is something inherent warfare in the way we treat it that is specifically designed as a guide for this, right? Many of you are here, for example, for the history of religion content. Some are more for the medieval warfare stuff. Others would like to see more contemporary stuff. Others are for the Romans, others for the Celts, and so on. Whatever you like, just know that I made way more than you actually watched. Do you know why I know this? Because I have the analytics. I have the actual stats, right? I'm talking to an audience that virtually has really not listened to even a minimal part of all, not even obviously of all the stuff I've done, but of all the stuff I've done even on the single topics that you are more specifically interested in. Thus, it's become a joke. You could say, well, but objectively on the market, maybe there is better than what you do. Yes, okay, but why subscribing? Why watching? Literally the dumber content, right? Like the sort of the top 90 YouTube history. Because again, it may be an interesting video, but there is no reason why it should get way more views, disproportional more views, the highest amount of watch length in the entire channel's history, when you have not all the 2400 videos, but a solid bunch of them, a solid few hundreds that are actual, I would call them, we're not talking art, they're masterpieces as far as the way I've been capable, and believe me, because it's been hard, very, very hard to do it, and largely the merit is not even money that's at stupid to deliver in a way that you can access things like tradition, that I'm still repeating over and over again the meaning of for years, and that I discover people coming on this channel do not even know that I cover. People not knowing what's my political orientation. People not know, well, where I come from, I never really said that, so there is an interesting bet on that. But generally speaking, all right, the kind of stuff I've done on this channel is seriously beyond most of what you can find out there. And not for the entertainment part, not for the sort of, but you can't argue that there was a mistake here, right? Because I've always and only provided you with historical content. I haven't provided you with something else to trick you into watching my channel like other people really do, inserting all the worst kind of spoilers of dumb stuff. And I see, by the way, that the next video, the one you've seen yesterday, has made, as usual, very low views. and lower than the average from quite a while, compared, especially in disproportionately compared to yesterday's video that made like 10 times more so quickly, right? So here, we really must have a very serious conversation about the future of this channel. All right, this is really important. It's really something I want to hear from you. I know what kind of answers are going to arrive at Schwerpunkt, but it's just a system. It is like that. Your videos maybe are not competitive, whatever. But yet again, I cannot understand that. I mean, I understand that part, but I do not understand why the same uncompetitive video with literally just the picture of von Clausewitz on it that may be beautiful to watch. If you are into the Funk Creek and everything, it elicits you specific memories. But it's just literally me speaking in the same identical way. And it's not even, it's a clickbait, it's the thumbnail with all the channel shield. It's literally just like also the watch list, the longest watch length. So it's, of all the possible examples, it's definitely not an accident. People are literally listening to that. Why don't you listen to my military historical analysis? Let's cross off let's just the military historical analysis, the ones for which you have come here. Of course, that's an answer that you should provide. If anything, to see how coherent this whole thing is. Because I'm not even asking for more views in terms of, like, for example, I don't know, the rhythm, let's say 2,000 views in a day for a single video. It would be completely fine, just like yesterday. It would be perfect. I wouldn't have anything to... I would be perfectly content with that. I don't care about having 100,000 views in a day. I don't care, all right? But we must be honest about why things at some point peak, and this watch retention is so low, given that also, by the way, I've been doing the same identical type of stuff throughout this month. For example, in September, we all know it was a massive peak, and this was fully organic. In February also, there was a massive peak, and this was fully organic. These are the same identical types of videos that I've kept doing. In May, May was a disaster. All right, or at least something that, again, completely mismatches with the trend, which was all towards the growth, meaning that all the effort you made at that point could also reward the channel to the point of getting ever more views and having the channel also represented in, say, like being found way more frequently in the home page and whatever. This is not happening. I track it all. I see it all. So again, what do we want to do about it? Do I have to assume that you're just into drama between YouTube channels? Do I have to assume that you don't give a damn about the art of war? Do I have to assume that, I don't know, I haven't been able to explain anything here? That everything I've done is basically, it's not useless, it's been very useful for me, but you basically can't see it. You maybe like it, but not understanding that, which again is very bizarre and definitely not normal from a psychological point of view, especially of a fully developed, mature adult person, right? What's that? Is it just like schizophrenia, or did you like just the thumbnail, just like the picture? What's the point, right? So YouTube is weird. YouTube does strange things, but it's never disconnected from people. It's never disconnected from the kind of retention of general click watches, etc. And it's not a surprise, again, for me that the other day's video was so successful, right? And so, again, This is very important. This channel is, and I will say it for the umpteenth time as well, it's not a forum. It's not a place where we simply pat on each other's shoulders, which means that if I suck, for example, you are completely free not to watch and whatever, but again, your behavior, statistically, some people's behavior is very consistent, but statistically, your behavior as listeners is not consistent at all, right? On average, this is not consistent at all. And there is no variation that I'm making, so that even when I got more views, there was not really a specific reason for which you had to watch more than you used to, right? So it's realizing different dynamics. The fact that we're all a bit manipulated. You manipulate, I manipulate, YouTube manipulates, so we are hopefully all going to get what we want out of it. Except it seems that at least you know who's the winner? YouTube. Right? Not you, not me. It's this third thing that basically flattens and cheapens and ruins everything that has brought, as we've seen, and that's why also that video was fairly good. I understand that flattens the products of all other YouTube channels. I have people, history channels, have people literally told me like, I wanted to make longer videos, right? And there is no market for that on YouTube. Why? It's not like there is not a market there, because it's something that I don't know, everybody does, and so you can't get into it. It literally means people are too stupid, like teenagers, not to have a longer time attention span in 15-20 minutes, so that YouTubers have to conform themselves to that kind of stupid format for the mentally feeble. All right? And you know what's bad about that? That, again, when I make the video that exactly fits that kind of orientation, regardless of the fact that some good is baked into it, it's not like you were somewhere on vacations, minding your own business, with your girlfriend, having a life. You were just all there, and you all fell into the freaking net. This is what really triggered this video today for me. That's the worst ever for all of us. For all of us. We all lost in that moment. All right? So, again, as I said before, I don't want to flatter myself. I don't want to say that my videos are masterpieces. I don't want to say that you should watch them. I'm not saying that there is something wrong in getting less views over time, to have ups and downs. But when a certain dynamic comes to that place, I am really concerned about you. I'm heavily concerned about what you may be going towards, because the entire, why, by the way. I mean, the most loyal ones, the oldest date followers know perfectly why. This entire channel pushes a narrative that is aimed exactly to counter that. Basically, the entire channel means, personally, morally, culturally, don't be that. All right? Work hard, because if you work hard, things are going to come about, and you're going to be successful, and everything is fine. What is this? This is giving up. All right? I know I'm not going to give up, because I don't have to simply show it to you, but it's obvious that I've also come to the point where I'm not making videos out of pride in this sense, but I'm definitely thinking that things really become serious when serious people are into them. Like, so there's a way of saying, surely in English, that is much better. It's the proverb. When the game becomes tough, the tough players begin to play. That is the thing. This is exactly where I stand. I know that we live in the age of so-called AI, which is a scam so far. And I know that, in fact, YouTube is full of this trash. But again, how do I get 300 views in one day for a a much more insightful, much better articulated, much more documented, it's easy to see that. All my pictures are perfectly matching. The information I search is incredibly precise. The AI stuff is not even just we're making very precise, condensed stuff with AI, cheating essentially. No, it's plain garbage. But you find this videos getting tens of thousands of views. So again, YouTube does not create those views out of nothing. It's all people clicking on it. All right. And so that is the scale of guilt that those people should feel for this thing happening. Except they usually don't. I doubt that you are the same people who click on those videos, but you immediately understand what the deal here is. You're spoon-fed by YouTube. I see it. You know how I see it? Because when, for example, I click on one of my videos, I can see on my, say, right side, right panel, show me the option, show me videos from Schwerpunkt. And YouTube, surprise, surprise, shows me the only videos at that point that I know through my YouTube studio that are the only ones that are watched from the past. Meaning that of 2,400 videos, basically YouTube just picks some and shows you those. And those are the only ones on which you click. It's not like those views come out of nowhere. You are actively engaging into that. But that sadly means that you don't even make the effort to click on the playlists and to find all the possible kind of customized content on the basis of your tastes that nobody watches anymore, and that are actually the best videos in the channel, right? Maybe out of 3 is really good and worth watching, but you have an infinite, or nearly infinite, choice given the amount of time you give for watching YouTube videos in your life, right? And you're not even trying to see that. There are some playlists that people do not even click on because they don't even think that they may exist. And this is pretty bad. Again, I can't expect people to, for some odd reason, to simply click on all this stuff of their own spontaneous will, without guidance, without it. But at the same time, in fact, how many times have you ever heard me making a video like this one today? And you see, Schwerpunkt is consistent because I'm not whining when I have low views. I'm whining when I have high views for no reason. All right, and I like coherence. I like honesty. I like clarity. So, conscientiously speaking, I believe that there is something pretty wrong going on here, and that unfortunately has to do with all of us. And the channel will not improve, will not get where you want to see it, hopefully, will not become, even if you like the drama between channels, it will not get to the point you will even be able to see that drama, because it will have not had enough views or likes or shares. It's after all so easy to grab people's attention. You just poke them and they are going to click on it. And again, I have high CTR, which means that when people engage with my content, they stick to it. People don't even know that I exist. And guess why? Because of 27,000 people plus me, we don't do enough, even in minimal part, to publicize this stuff. And I know of some people that made an effort there, but I can assure you that by running the channel I made myself a bit more of an effort over the years to do that. And I can't believe, again, that you wouldn't take this kind of content for what it is, for the person who makes that, at least for my background, for what I'm proving you every day by talking for hours, really, about all the topics that you can imagine, about, hopefully, again, something interesting about the art of war for which you subscribe, because the channel is not about anything else. That is set to go nowhere, right? I know it's a bitter video. I mean, I'm not making the point that it's not, it's pleasant to listen to this, but I think one should also point out the obvious at this point, right? I will go on. I will think maybe of some measure at some point I will have to take to solve the issue. I don't see really that there is too much left to do. Either I take sort of a radical, extreme turns, or I'm simply not doing much about this. I fully accept that the channel gets few views and that they may even decrease. It never really happened, but it started to worry me like in the last month or so, considering especially the number of subscribers, because the intention there is at that point not anymore out of the equation. This is not an accident. It is a dynamic that probably may even happen for factors that I don't see, and that maybe I don't want to make Helen's encomium, but let's say we're all again responsible for. We may not exactly fully picture in a way or another, and it's very difficult. It is a challenge to do, but it's also what you see here, right? It's like, by the way, other example I wanted to make, just a little bit to spice up the thing, because it's interesting. The only other, this trend again of scarce views, something ridiculous like 200, 300 views, and it never happened. Like again in September for a month straight I got thousands of views for each video. All right, then we got to this point just today. It never happened for years. And then I make a video that you probably remember because it made double, triple the number of views. So it's impossible not to see amidst the others in the stats. Is it morally permissible to exploit corruption in post-communist Serbia as a believer? Now, that's the weirdest title that probably ever used. The video was admittedly interesting, and again, I'm glad that more people watched it. I wish the other videos had been watched, like the institution of the Jubilee, for example. If you don't even care about that, what are you on this channel for? Nobody really knows. But again, that's the same point. In 2,400 videos dedicated to the art of war, what sense does it have to be interested in a video titled, "Is it morally permissible to exploit corruption in post-communist Serbia as a believer?" It's literally me speaking the same identical way. It's literally just von Clausewitz in the background. There aren't even pictures. You can tell me that this is something new or that I've done better finally. No, this is just some topic that for some unpresentable reason brought to more views. Because let's be honest, there is no reason why would you take this over Prince Eugene of Savoy or the papacy or, I don't know, Caesar's Britannic campaigns or World War II tanks or any direct or medieval Indian warfare or French noble rebellions or even the sacred basilicas of ancient Rome or Trajan warfare or whatever. There must be something else. Admittedly, again, in April, we still made pretty good, solid views. In May, what did happen? Really? You tell me. Because, frankly, again, as I said before, it's not like you were on vacation. You were all wired to watch the damn video about the top 90 YouTube history channels, blah, blah, blah. Right? So this is the serious problem. And I think it's time to address this, because otherwise I feel this channel is going nowhere. Right? It's become, I could do more. I can't go on with this, but frankly, I've arrived to the point where I'm starting to think that I can maybe do more on myself, on my own, really, than continuing also at this rate and whatever. Because it's, I would still do it. I know myself, but it's become insulting to the topics that I cover, honestly. Not to me personally or even to my expertise, but it's become an insult to the the actual worth that lays behind the content, regardless of who makes it. And it's too much a little bit. It's little bit too much, right? And I'm really worried that nothing is going to change. And I can't do whatever you want. I can even, start talking about absurd things just to hope that that's going to make more views. But again, I've never chased that, and I've proved it to you for several years. So I don't see why I should start now, nor why, again, you should degrade yourself to prefer that over something really serious. And that will actually damage, instead, in fact, anyone. Harsh words of a harsh channel you can probably say. Again, let's see if what happens, because again, I can't tell. Having a YouTube channel for several years builds solid antibodies. I've never really particularly been I've always I've been fairly in my life. I've never really complained. Like, I've always taken things, and I'm being strengthening up consistently. At this point, I really want to provoke you to that level of saying, we actually don't know why we are here. And in that sense, it's really better unsubscribe than on Schwerpunkt still. And again, that's pretty much it, right? Rather than trying to find other solutions or whatever, that would be much better. All right. So we'll probably talk this again in our spring backstage kind of approach to whatever this is. I am fairly sure that we're going to, at some point, to make more views, because in all of this, it's not like I, again, throw in the towel or say, okay, well, no, I should stop making videos, I should stop the channel, whatever. No, right? I'm sure that we're going to make much more views than this at some point, even with normal content. The problem is a serious problem. How long do you want to wait before this happens? And to therefore give. I say this also to the people who more regularly follow me. I don't know for which reason, again, this is valid for everyone in depending on the situation. Like, how far are you willing to go for this channel? And really ask you to picture everything you have done for this channel already, and what you would really want and expect from this channel, because that's what should make you answer, not some other generic consideration, right? This is extremely important, and I'm sure that you're going to provide with an adequate answer. And I'm really awaiting for that. I'm not shying away. I'm not deflecting. I will take that into serious consideration, and I would just want you to specifically reflect also for once, like, if you want to send any suggestion, listen to this video, all right? Not just once, like, take notes, look at on which basis I said the things I said, especially the contrast that I told you before, right? It's not easy. My videos are not simple. There are different layers that I touched on today. And again, it's not whatever you think that the dynamic is. I ask you to, again, re-listen to the video, because my videos must be, or at least to stop and to note, to write down what the concept, because this is how this content is structured, right? Even if people think that there is no structure because there is no script, whatever, the content is heavily structured. It's not random. It's not created just as it comes, right? There is a very deeply specific point to it all that has always comprehended the entire channel. If you listen to the very first videos I've made, I would tell you the same identical thing, because I can assure you that in my mind there is a full circle here. from the beginning to the end. All right. So I am a person who tends to think pretty much before saying things and before doing things. So I can assure that it's not the first thing that comes into your mind if you've not made the effort to get it that is going to be the solution to this. And this may actually be the problem of the channel. Nobody really ever listened to what I'm saying. All right, they may say here 10 minutes, 2 hours video. They may even listen to it all, but as it happens to me, to not fully understanding the whole, right? So let's see what where we go with this, right? What we can do about it. I presume that this is okay for today. It has to be, it's fairly, my content is fairly long, but this video may be shorter than others, surely shorter than the one about even the 90 YouTube channels, but this is exactly the point. It's a way more important video, and let's see if you're going to even watch it more than that one, right? Let me be a bit sarcastic at this point, because I know that you get it, all right? I know that you're gonna get it, so I count on you as far as that is concerned. For the rest, and I truly mean it, I just hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please share it. Otherwise, leave a like or subscribe to my channel if you're interested in my upcoming content. As always, I thank you heartily for listening to me. I wish you a nice time and see you next time. Bye.